Okay, hi. Welcome back to Bearded Heretics YouTube. I'm not someone for online drama. I just want to put that out there. But there was something that kind of made me feel a bit uncomfortable, and I feel like it's worth addressing because I think that there's learning that could be had from everyone involved and people outside. And it's basically a response to this tweet by a woman called Sarah Salvianda, who is an astrophysicist and a Christian. And I think that um, the response I gave, I think, was quite fair, and I ended up getting blocked, which is fine. I don't really care about that, but um, I think it's just we should be striving for better conversations online, personally, and I think this is a really good example of where that kind of broke down considerably. I do think there's probably learning on both sides, not just from Sarah, and I don't think Sarah's a bad person, or I don't, I'm not. I don't think she even the original tweet. I don't think was even done in any ill will. But Twitter is a public platform. She has 23,000 followers, 23,500 followers, and so her message is going to be getting out to people who are going to take that and see it as a reason to justify silencing and justify kind of breaking down conversations between theists and atheists. And I know that's not what she wants because I've heard her say that that's not what she wants. She wants good conversations between atheists and theists. Um, there is, I did have to, just for transparency, I did have to create a second Twitter account because I was blocked just to see the tweets. I'm not going to respond. I'm gonna, respect her wishes to have blocked me. I don't care about that too much, but I just want to show the tweets, and I can't do that um, when I'm blocked. So I've created a second Twitter account, and it's purely just to look at the tweets because her profile is public. Anyone can see it, and I was involved in the conversation, and I want to show the back and forth. I don't want to. I don't. It's not about trying to bypass the block. It's more about just showing the conversation that we had. Um, so that's why I've done this. And if you guys think that that's bad for any reason, then do let me know because I think it's good to be transparent about things. There is a tweet here that I hadn't seen before, which I think is, I don't know, a bit aimed at me, but it doesn't matter too much. Saying my mentions and DMs today are filled with unsolicited advice about engaging atheists. To say that I am disinclined to take the advice of passive aggressive males seeking to modify my behavior for their own comfort is an understatement. So, um, she said that I was passive aggressive, which is why I think there was an element of this being directed at me. And I don't think I was passive aggressive. I was quite clear in what I was trying to say. Um, well, I mean, I'll show you the tweets and then you can decide for yourself. This is ad hoc, so I don't really have a plan other than to show you what happened, and then you guys can make up your own mind, and I'll give my thoughts on it. I need to find the tweet first. Uh, so first of all, actually, this is a really good point, right? So this tweet, May 3rd, um, and Daniel Ray got involved and started talking to me within the thread, and I have absolute total respect for Daniel Ray. I think he's great. I've had I don't know him too well. I've had a couple of good conversations with him online, and they are very he's very articulate, and he's very good at getting his message across in the limit that you have on Twitter. Um, but this conversation that she had, and I will share this in the description, um, is about better interactions between atheists and theists. And I listened to it. I listened to the whole thing, and it's got good advice in there from Sarah. It's got good advice from Sarah. It's got good advice from Dan, and there's a third person involved. I can't remember what his name is, but they have a good conversation about Brady Blevins. Um, they have a really good conversation about how to improve conversations and interactions between theists and atheists on YouTube. So, she's motivated. As far as I can tell, she's motivated to have better discussions, and I think that's great. I think that's what we need. I have discussions with my theist friends on my channel. You know, there's a discussion there, and I am. I don't think we need to be uh, exclusive, and we don't need to reject people based on those on their just their belief about a god. Yeah. So this is worth listening to, and it is very good. And I would recommend you guys go listen to it. So let's find the tweet. I can't even find it now. Where is it? I mean, it still exists because I can see the responses and stuff. Has she deleted it? This is really odd. So it's the 8th today, so it should be around here. Let me just check something quickly. I can't view the original tweet because I'm blocked. So it may be that she's deleted the tweet. See what I'll do. Right, so this is my my Twitter. Which is also public. Right, okay. So this is the original tweet. I don't know why it was why I couldn't find it on her. Oh, okay, it's an old tweet. That's why. It's from April 29th, 2021. I responded to this yesterday. It came up in my feed. So I guess maybe it got brought forwards or something. Twitter doesn't always show you the most recent tweets. It just shows you the ones that are picking up speed and stuff. So this tweet happened earlier than I had thought it was. So even there, right? This is a learning point for me because I didn't realize that this was done prior to her talk with Dan and the other guy who I said the name of, but I can't remember still. So that's interesting. But needless to say, the conversation still stands about um, what the lesson is, and I doubt between the April 29th to today, which is May 8th, that there was much of a change in her opinion on what atheists and theists should be doing to have better conversations. Um, so that's the context of the tweet. I didn't realize it was done earlier, so that's my bad. Um, but so this is my first response, right? So I enjoyed your discussion about atheist discourse with Dan. It was good. This tweet is inflammatory, though, whether you meant for it to be or not, and that's really important, right? I added that in because I didn't want to assume what her intentions were. So the tweet is: it's perfectly reasonable to believe in God. It's reasonable to doubt slash have questions, and it's unreasonable to believe that God doesn't exist. Now, the reason that I think this tweet is inflammatory is because it takes out all of the context of why somebody either lacks a belief in God or does not believe that God exists. Right? It just takes that context out of it completely. Okay, so um, that's why I said it was inflammatory, because this is the type of comment that theists make to undermine atheists in their communities, to make it seem like they're being unreasonable, they're being irrational, they're being um, ridiculous, right? Now, Sarah, if I was to flip this, it's perfectly reasonable not to believe in God. It's reasonable to whatever the opposite of doubt is, have questions about God. It's unreasonable to believe that God exists. I don't think she would see a problem with that being inflammatory. It is inflammatory. And I've seen people say that, and I think that it's inflammatory. I don't like that kind of way of thinking. It is it's very it is direct. It makes people seem um, unreasonable, irrational, and it just takes a lot of the kind of like the context as to why somebody would hold that belief out of it, you know. And she has her reasons for believing. I have my reasons for not believing. Yeah, so there's the issue. That's why it's inflammatory, and it doesn't matter whether I said it in good faith or not. Without the context, um, you cannot say that's not inflammatory. People are going to respond badly to this. If I wrote this tweet out, but talking about theists, I would expect a negative response because um, I would see that they would think that their beliefs are rational and reasoned, and like I think my beliefs are rational and reasoned. So even if she believes this to be true, and her intentions are good to show atheists, yeah, your beliefs are irrational or unreasonable, whatever it is, come to theists, come to the rational position. There's not enough information here um, to say the reasons behind that, or to give anyone any space to have a conversation about it. It is just a statement. It's just a statement. It's unreasonable to believe that God exists. Yeah, and it's on Twitter. So the amount of discourse that you can have in Twitter is very limited because of the character limits. You can't have big conversations. You can't. I I wouldn't be able to have this big conversation, right? Now I'll get to that response later, but I just want to clarify because I actually added a bit, um, saying I'm actually quite disappointed. Even if you believe this to be true, this kind of rhetoric on a platform like this will only drive a wedge between theists and atheists and prevent the type of sincere conversation you said you wanted on the podcast. I th- I, I stand by that. I stand by that. You know what you're doing is othering in that sense, even if that's not your intention, right? Now, Daniel Ray gets involved, and I think his points are very good. I don't know Sarah. Um, I don't know Sarah very well. I think that if I did know her, maybe I would know a better way of kind of communicating with her, and that's absolutely fair. And I think that's the kind of points that Daniel's saying. That she's saying this in good faith. She doesn't mean ill intent. I can get behind that. I totally understand. Um, but the problem is that Twitter isn't a place where people say things with context. I don't know Sarah, uh, and I've seen this tweet, and the tweet on its own, which it is on its own because that's how Twitter works, is inflammatory, and people can use that tweet to justify their positions of thinking, like putting a value judgment on atheism, silencing them, and uh, justifying that kind of approach to atheists, which is what happens in America a lot. That kind of like, you're unreasonable, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. So this is basically what what Daniel was saying. People assume ill will. Um, Now, this is an important thing here as well. I see this, but she has rules and lines in the sand around potential attempts at humor and stuff, right? So in her pin tweet, she has about stuff like she won't accept people saying like imaginary friend or sky daddy, and I totally get that. I hate that kind of language. I hate that atheists use that kind of language. I would never condone it, and I would never support that. But we also have lines in the sand, you know. And I didn't block her for this. I wanted a conversation about it. I wanted to show her, look, your intent may have been for the betterment of people. Your approach failed that. Your approach was counteractive to that. Um, and she didn't see that. Then I doubt she's going to watch this. Maybe she will, but um, I'm just hoping that other theists will see this and see why this kind of approach to uh, the rhetoric, and at this point it is rhetoric because you're trying to persuade someone. It's not about necessarily political rhetoric or anything like that, but you're trying to persuade someone. Doesn't work, and it does just frustrate atheists. It just it makes you seem unreasonable because you're not trying to see it from their perspective. You're not trying to understand the reasons that they don't believe. You're not trying to understand um, the uh, the kind of the issues that they see with religion and with the idea of God. Yeah. Um, Another important point is actually Daniel raises another good point about how Twitter people joust on Twitter. That's fair enough. I agree. People might poke a bit of fun. People might be a little bit provocative and stuff. Um, but there's a like kind of a line there as well. Uh, you can have jokes and stuff, but as soon as they are counter to what you're trying to achieve, and if your motivation is to achieve a better discourse, then then you know that's where the problem is. That's it. Okay, so this is her response to me. Why do you think it's inflammatory? I think we've gotten to a point where speaking truth in sincerity is mistaken for insult or rhetoric. Well, it is rhetoric because she's trying to persuade people. A reasonable person can hold unreasonable beliefs. I certainly do. I agree with that. And I hope that those who care about me will care enough to point it out. I agree with that. I think that people should be pointing out people's flaws and unreasonable beliefs. I think that this tweet was unreasonable. I think that having the belief that you cannot be uh, reasonable in your belief around God's not existing is unreasonable. I think that's an unreasonable belief. So I wanted to point it out, and I said, I guess that's what I'm doing with a smiley face because I'm saying like, look, I don't necessarily care about Sarah because I don't know her very well, but I care about this topic. I care about theists and atheists having better discussions. I do genuinely care about that. So that's why I'm saying like, this is what I'm trying to do. I hope that people who care about me will care. Now, I'm guessing that the that line, it may not have clearly pointed to this, but that was what I was trying to get at in saying what I'm trying to do is, uh, I guess that's what I'm doing, yeah. And then I said, I think that an assertion like that in a vacuum sounds like rhetoric. I mean, I think it was rhetoric because there's like other threads where she's trying to persuade people. And even if you aren't using it as rhetoric, others absolutely do actively. People do use that line. It's unreasonable to believe that gods don't exist as a tool to justify silencing atheists. It's just true. It's just what happens, especially in the States, especially in the Bible Belt in the States. The whole reason that the atheists are trying to fight for their position there. It's the whole reason the atheist community of Austin is doing so well is because in that particular area, they're getting met with backlash and they're trying to justify their existence. Yeah, and people use this theist line as justification for disregarding them and not engaging them. This was her response. Who cares what it sounds like? Are you new to the internet? And then I said, you're the one who said on the podcast that you wanted better, sincere interactions with atheists online, so I would assume that you would care. I don't think there's not much to be said about those, to be honest. And then Sarah said, I have zero interest in this silly passive aggressive game. I wish you well, as per my policy outlined in my pinned tweet. I'm afraid you're now muted. Now, I looked at her pinned tweet. There's nothing, as far as I can see, about this type of discussion in there. I'm disagreeing with her. I'm not being passive aggressive. I'm being quite clear in my views in terms of like, this isn't going to work. If you want atheist and theist discussion and discourse to be better, this isn't going to work. Yeah. Uh, and then I said, I'm confused. This type of conversation isn't mentioned in your pin tweet, and I've been very clear and direct, which I feel like I had been. I don't mind you muting me, but I don't think my criticisms are unfair. In light of the podcast, I heard you speak about sincere and good comms between our groups. Right, and then this is important because Daniel talks again about how I don't know Sarah very well. And I get that. I get that, like if it was my friends that were saying this, I would know the route to go through in order uh to land what I'm trying to say better. But this is Twitter. There's a lot of context removed, like body language and voice. It's hard to know when someone's being uh, like well intentioned and when someone's not. So I totally see that, and also like types of language and approach and stuff. That's very person specific. But someone's making a statement on Twitter. Um, they should also be trying to figure out what people's intentions are when they're coming back. Yeah. Um, I'm not. Yeah, and Daniel says about me trying to hold her accountable. That's not what I was trying to do. I wasn't trying to, and I can see why it came across that way. I wasn't trying to say you're accountable for this. What I'm saying is that, and I wasn't even saying that her intentions were ill-willed. I think that is, I can still I can think of her having the best intentions and still see problems with this tweet. Um, it's about the actual outcome of that tweet, and it just would drive the atheists away and reinforce bad theists um, or discriminatory theists' perspectives. Now, I don't actually know what was said there. Oh, okay, right, that's fine. I don't really care about that bit. There was another part. Um, I'm not entirely sure where it is. It's hard because I can't go back through because I'm blocked. I can't actually see the thread like I do on my phone. And I don't want to just say. I mean, even in this part, like we get through this bit. You know, I say that this strikes a chord with me because of the fact the sentiment is used to justify atheist exclusion and silencing. Um, and then I trust Daniel. I trust his character judgment. I haven't spoken to him much, but I've watched a couple of his videos. I've listened to his podcast. He set up a podcast that's just for discussions between atheists and theists. I think he's well intentioned. I've had no beef with him whatsoever. Um, So, I say, I trust he's vouching for you. So I'm inclined to trust his judgment, but I also want to make sure that you've seen the thread so you can understand. Yeah, this is the part. This is the part that I think, yeah, that I was thinking about. So I think it would be valuable to examine why my comment bothers you so much instead of focusing so much on what I can do differently. Now, why my comment bothers me so much, or why her comment, sorry, bothers me so much. I think I've explained that quite well. Um, Regardless of her intention, it was a bad comment. It was just a bad tweet. That's all. People make bad tweets. They make tweets that are misconstrued. I was trying to help her learn. If you want this positive uh, dynamic, then this is not the route to go. Don't make blanket statements. Um, and I said my interpretation isn't the whole story. No. Um, so it's just people do need to reflect on their approach. If someone's coming at you and saying, "Look, this is problematic. This isn't going to help your cause. This isn't going to help the discourse." It's not about uh, it's not about your intentions. It's not about uh, your um, motivations. It's about what you actually said and how that is going to be used in the future. That's what it's about, right? And her tweet is inflammatory. It's not different to anyone else saying it with a bad intention. If two people said the same things without context, they would both be regarded in the same way. So this is the problem. This is the problem. And she doesn't even try to examine this. She doesn't try to understand this. Like, um, in the description, she said, "I think it would be valuable to examine why my comments." What she means here, I think, is that I need to examine why I got uh, irked by her tweet, rather than thinking about how her tweet might have irked me from her perspective. Yeah, conversations are two people. Discourse is two sets of people. Yeah, and someone with I have I don't even know how many followers I have. Not many. I have 386 followers. I don't have a particular, yeah, following. So my tweets may be misconstrued when I have a bigger following. Yeah, and I'll have to adapt to make sure that I'm not inflaming people, and to make sure that I'm not insulting people, because that's not what I'm about. I'm not about this like I want my motivation is to have better discourse. My motivation is to help people to live more productive, or not more productive, but be able to cope with everyday things from an atheist perspective. That's what I'm about. Yeah. So if I make a tweet that's inflammatory, and a bunch of people say this isn't good for you, Luke, for your message, then I will say, okay, yeah, fair enough. I'll take on board what they're saying, right? And there's this theists have also criticized this tweet. It's not just atheists criticizing this. There are theists who are saying the same thing. This isn't how we discuss things. This isn't how it should be discussed, because of this very reason. Because it is um, just another reason for atheists to pull away from theists, and to essentially become anti-theists. Yeah, because they don't see, a lot of atheists, especially American atheists, don't see um, acceptance or inclusion from the theist community, and this tweet doesn't help that. It doesn't help that perception. Yeah, it doesn't look like the theist community are welcoming from this. Yeah, let's just go back to the original tweet a second. See some of the other replies. I mean, he even asked a question: "Why is it unreasonable to believe God doesn't exist? You haven't provided a reason to believe that." No replies. No replies. I don't know if she's blocked all these people. Calling people unreasonable seems counterproductive, assuming intellectually virtuous dialogue is the aim. What if they really are unreasonable? See where this goes. What if they are unreasonable? Right, so I think this is the crux of the matter, yeah? It's not uncivil or unloving to tell someone their views are unreasonable. It's not, providing you can show people. Just leaving people in a state of doubt, just saying you're unreasonable, and then and then leaving, or just not having any further discourse about that point, isn't uh, what she's doing here. And like maybe that's not what she's trying to do, but you know, that's that just makes it seem even more like she's just making a point to uh to kind of undermine atheists. That's what it looks like. And I'm not saying that's what she's doing, that's what it looks like. She hasn't actually replied to anyone saying, why is it unreasonable? Like, and here, I think this is the most replies, like, it's. So she's responding, but then she's linking to articles, which is fine. Like, Twitter is notoriously bad um for doing this stuff, for looking at, like, to have a lot of discourse. So it's good that she's linking articles, but she's not linking them in the right places. She's linking them in somebody who's just saying that calling people unreasonable seems counterproductive, rather than people who are asking why is it unreasonable. Right, and this is the type of thing I don't like. It's believing in a fairy tale or an illusion. This is the theist, right? This is the theist response. Joseph Nola. And I did respond to this one as well. But for crying out loud, saying it's unreasonable to believe God does not exist is not evangelization. It's trolling. So he's not saying that she's trolling. He's saying that that's what it looks like. That just saying that and dropping it and leaving it there is trolling. There are many non-believers with well thought out reasons. Can't up and decide to think something is true when you aren't convinced. Stop belittling. And this is the thing. Like, she might not think that she was belittling. She might not think that um, that her statement was untrue. Which, if she has justifications for that, then fair. But what she's doing is just saying, here's a nugget of information I'm not going to expand on, and then just uh, uh, not accepting criticism about that, um, for whatever reason. She's not accepting that, um, that people are trying to help her understand why that's problematic, which is what I was trying to do. I was trying to help her understand why what she said is problematic without any context. And I think this kind of captures that. You know, to say that I'm disinclined to take the advice of passive aggressive males seeking to modify my behavior for their comfort is an understatement. Now, she responded to me saying I was passive aggressive. I was direct. I said exactly what my problems were. I said why it irked me. I said it's not conducive to a good conversation between theists and atheists. There was nothing passive about that. I was very direct, and I guess tell me, guys, if you thought I was passive aggressive at any point, let me know. Um, and she's absolutely, completely, it's her prerogative if she takes on any kind of advice or any kind of, like, uh, comments from people online. But I'll just say, if you truly want better conversations between atheists and theists, saying that a whole group of people and their belief or unbelief, depending on how they um, define their atheism, is unreasonable, that's not gonna do it. It's just not. Okay, that's it. I don't think there's much more else to say on this. I don't want to beat a dead horse. But it just I just want there to be better conversations. I just want there to be um meaningful conversations. I think they can happen on Twitter. Daniel's a really good example. I've had very many good well, not many. I've had good conversations with Daniel. He's a reasonable guy. He's very clear, he's very nice, he's very direct, and you know, I get what he's saying. I don't know her. I do not, but I heard her speak in a podcast and said that she wants better discussions with atheists about stuff, and that she doesn't want to be hearing this stuff like Sky Daddy and Imaginary Friend and Fairy Tale and stuff, and that's fair enough. But then when we say, or when I say, uh, this isn't the way of communicating with atheists, she blocks me. So you know, there's a discussion there about that really. So I guess if you're a theist and you're watching this, please just before you um tweet or say anything, just and if this is only if you want to have good discussions with atheists and you want to understand their perspective, right? And you want to understand why they're atheists, right? Don't antagonize them, even if that's not your intention. If they say this is antagonizing, try and think of a better way of framing the question or expanding it in the discussion, or even DM them and say, what was the problem with that tweet? Because we're not going to get it right 100% of the time. We're only human. We make mistakes, right? But closing down the discussion about why that that way of approaching things isn't good is just going to kind of increase the kind of animosity between the groups. And those are my thoughts. That's it. I don't wish any ill on Sarah. I think, as I say, I trust Daniel's character judgment on her. I think she probably is a really nice person. She probably um, means really well. She probably meant well by that particular tweet. But, at the same time, we all need to reflect on our behavior and see how the things that we say, the things that we write might have impacted other people and might have closed down the conversation when actually we want it to be open and we want it to be vibrant and fresh and conducive to positivity. Yeah, that's all I want. So there we go. That's that. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, give it a like, hit that subscribe button. Don't literally hit it though, just press it with your cursor. And I'll see you at another point.